Okay, so I'm sitting here listening to Heidi Prieb talking about how to basically metabolize emotional pain, and it has me thinking about how I've said that our emotions are not totally unlike our digestive system, and that things have to go through and pass out of our being, or it festers and backs up and gets gassy and stanky. And good emotional hygiene should be something we seek for ourselves and seek in others, because we do need to be able to take on life's experiences, and we get busy and we don't always have time in the moment to deal with the thing. Sometimes there are layers of a thing that need time to unfold and reveal themselves, but ultimately I think that part of mental fitness is practicing good emotional hygiene and saying, look, I've had all this stuff going on, whether I need to journal, talk with a friend or a professional, channel that energy into something, or even just sit and plain old fashioned feel it, because we don't want all of this like filthy charge building up on our lines. Because as Heidi Prieb just said as I was listening, she's like, we end up unloading that on the people who are closest to us. And so if you use the metaphor of the digestive system, you're kind of shitting on people, and that's really not okay. And we don't want to be in situations where the ones getting shat upon. The thing about that, though, is that we tend to um, flock together, like attracts like, and so if we are not clear and healthy ourselves, we tend to attract people who they themselves are not clear and healthy either. And so it's about not just being well with ourselves, but also being well with each other. And if we go back to things I've said in other videos, being well with ourselves requires that we are well with other people. We need sound, nourishing social connections to be fully who we are and well within that, and from there capable of living a good life and contributing as much as we receive. And so you see there's sort of a cycle to things. Things have to flow a certain way, and emotions are incredibly fluid. I really feel that that's one of the more fluid aspects of our being, moment to moment. It's like, how you feeling? I don't know. Ask me in 10 minutes, right? Don't know what happens next. And even the most well-adjusted people are going to have variations in their emotional states based on what's happening. The measure of whether those highs and lows are healthy or perhaps tending toward pathological is whether or not they're proportionate. This is always a good clue that if you're having a response to something that doesn't match what's happened, you're overly excited, or instead of just being irritated, you're raging, or instead of just being a little frustrated, you give up and fall into despair. That's usually about something in the past. That's usually not about what's happening in the present. And it's a clue that you're not in the present, which means you're a little bit dissociated and it's not entirely healthy. But we don't want to be constantly in one state. That's unnatural, that's unhealthy, it's unsustainable. We have to be able to remain fluid. It's that we want to move in gentle waves. And years ago, in trying to figure out what I could define for myself as good mental health objectively, something I could put on a chart, I said, what if it's just a sound, sustainable baseline where you want to exist, where you can function from, and that the emotional states are basically going to rise and fall along that line, but that it shouldn't be constantly dropping low or spiking high or running up and down like this, like until it just like becomes one solid band of emotional dysregulation all the way across. But the balancing point is not to be rigid. Anything rigid, that's not healthy emotionally, socially, spiritually, intellectually. Rigidity is good when you're building even a skyscraper. Even a skyscraper has a little flex to be able to move with the wind. So we understand that it's not about constantly being, oh, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. You're not okay. You're doing okay. Things are going, oh no, like, oh, that's too, oh, okay, hey, look at that. You're going to be riding up and down according to what happens in life. And our ability to be present with that and to really feel that and to let it move through our bodies, because our bodies experience emotion sometimes before we are even consciously aware of it. And it's a good clue to see where we are, to say, this is part of emotional hygiene, is checking in and saying, where am I at? What is my body telling me? Because, yeah, the body knows, the body keeps the score. So that's one way of knowing where you're at and adjusting, and that emotional regulation, the skills of emotional regulation are part of the mental fitness I talk about, but within that, I think that this kind of emotional hygiene is necessary. Like, I've said it elsewhere. It's like you go and you get a good workout, and then you take a shower, and you wash all the sweat and the grime off of you, and you come out strong and clear and ready for the next thing. And so this is very much like that, where it would be like working out but never showering. You just keep building the grime, the salt, the sweat, all of that just piling up until it's stinky and crusty and no good. And because we can't see what's happening emotionally when we become rigid or crusty or backed up, we're not as offended by, we're not even aware of that. And then what we are offended by is the ways in which it does stink and it does jam up or blow out. And then we say, hey, how did this happen? What happened? You would understand it if it were a physical process, but because it's something less tangible, something of the psyche that we can't just grasp and see, it's a lot harder. And that's kind of why I needed to come up with that concept of a sustainable baseline state and a gentle waveform around it as the objective of good mental and emotional health. And yeah, the fluidity is so key, because life is always coming at us. Things are always changing. We cannot stop the change. And what we need to do is be limber enough to go out and meet it and ride those waves and to move with it, that we can surf it instead of getting smashed in the surf along the shoreline. And a lot of that is again back to mental fitness. It's mindset, it's your frame, it's all of these things. But that's not enough if we're not actually able to be with the emotions and work with them and move them along, so that we are clear and capable, and that we attract people who are also able to sustain that practice and come in their own clear, capable way, and that we can build together from that place, that we're not just, I don't know, it's like we just fester otherwise. And that's, you can't have festering wounds come together and create good things. You need health, you need wholeness, you need to be able to remain dynamic and responsive in life. Being responsible is being able to respond, and so you got to be limber and ready for action if that's the call. So this is my thought on what I was just hearing at the very beginning of Heidi Prieb's piece, how to metabolize emotional pain. Trying to squint at my notes here. Yeah, I like how she uses the word metabolize, because I have been saying it's like a digestive system, and we need to take in good stuff. We need to be able to digest it and reject what's not good for us. We need to build from what we take on and become more of who we are. It really is about metabolizing life. We need to be able to digest life as we experience it. And so I think that's my riff on that for the moment. Thank you for coming along for another random wake up video. I look forward to seeing you in the next round. Take care.